think when you look at the depth of the Boston Celtics, they 7, 8 deep and get great production from those guys. The depth is starting to wear on them. And we talk about the stars of this series. You talk about Kyrie and Luka, and then we'll talk about Jason and obviously Jalen. But to me, for the Celtics, just early after 2 games, Holiday has to be the MVP of this series. He's been terrific. A guy they traded for, made a big move, gave him extension. He's been the difference maker. And if you can go back to game 1, another guy they traded for in Porzingis. Those guys have been the difference makers this time around with the Celtics being in the finals. And with those 2 guys, and then obviously we know Derek White's been a rock all year long. So the Celtics, I think, are just much deeper, and the others are playing really, really well. You hear Shaq say this all the time about the others. When you look at the Celtics others, they're the ones that's making the difference.
And I think a big credit has to go to Brad Stevens. I know for a lot of us, Brad Stevens may be out of sight, out of mind just because he's not coaching the team. But you talked about it. Getting Kristaps Porzingis and trading away a fan favorite and Marcus Smart. You also, in that deal, got 2 first-round picks, and one of those picks were used to go get Drew Holiday. Brad Stevens, who was good as a coach, he's been pressing all the right buttons as of late ever since becoming the president of basketball operations.
Oh, without question. They got a window. And I think one thing, if you look at Brad, obviously I'm not in the war room, but they got 2 young talent stars in Jalen and Jason. And let's do everything to put the right pieces around them and see if we can win us a couple championships. Came up short, obviously, against a veteran team in Golden State a couple years ago. But now I think it's the doors open for them. And I know they still got a job to do this series, but to be in the finals for the next 3-4 years and get itself a chance to win another title or multiple titles. And I think that's what Brad Stevens has done. He set up this team to be very good for the next 3 to 5 years and have a chance to win legitimate titles.
Antoine Walker here with us. The defense, and I know you touched on it a little bit, but Kyrie Irving has done nothing through the first 2 games of the series. I know Luka showed up in a big way, had 23 points in the first half last night. What are you seeing right now out of the Celtics defenders up against Kyrie Irving?
Well, we don't talk about it enough. The Celtics have multiple defenders. We don't talk about how great a defender Holiday and Derek White are. Both of those guys are elite defenders. Jaylen Brown came in this league as an elite defender. He made his name being an elite defender. Obviously, his offensive game has grown over the years. And then Al Horford has been a great defender, especially when he was younger in his career. So they just have multiple guys that can guard. This is a different series than what Dallas has seen coming from the Minnesota series. They don't have 2 7-footers that necessarily are not mobile and that can't move. The Celtics can switch 1 through 5. Al Horford can stay in front of a Luka Doncic. So you got different matchups. And I think because the Celtics won so much this year and they were so great offensively, we forget how good they are defensively. And we're seeing that now in the finals.
Talking to Antoine Walker right now. So I don't want to take away from what they're doing defensively because they've been sensational defensively. But Kyrie Irving going back to Boston the last 2, clearly that building has been a house of horrors for him ever since he left the Boston Celtics. How much does that maybe impact a player where, sure, Boston's been great defensively, but it seems like Kyrie's a little bit more focused with the fans rather than the task at hand on the court?
It's tough there. It's tough sometimes for to be a Boston Celtic, and if you don't play great, they're going to really get on top of you. This is the diehard fan base. They're going to make it really tough on them. Obviously, the situation him leaving was not great, so they're gonna be on him. They're going to give him a hard time. I mean, I feel for him. He probably can't even go to dinner. I mean, let's think about the off the court too. I mean, he probably don't even feel comfortable going to dinner, so he's basically in a hotel for 4 or 5 days. Where he can't even go out and enjoy the city a little bit and even get a good meal. He probably doesn't want to go out. I think it plays a part. It can start to wear on you as a player. We all are human. We all go through these things. So I think being at home, I'm expecting to see a better Kyrie Irving game 3 or 4 because being at home and being in front of his home crowd. But I feel for him. It's a tough situation. I mean, it's something that you got to deal with. It didn't work out well in Boston, and fans in Boston are really diehard fans, and, they love their Celtics. So they're going to get out there. It's all in the fun of competition. I'm glad nothing's happened besides nothing but booing. You know what I mean? That's what we want to keep it at.
It's one thing to play better when you get home, and I think it'll be better. You can't really get worse than what happened the last 2 games, but will be better enough to then take both games 3 and 4. Like, I kind of go into these next two games thinking Boston's going to find a way to split.
Yeah, I had the Celtics in 5. That was my prediction early on. Luka and Kyrie are two outstanding, great stars in this league. You got to figure they're gonna figure it out. Jason Kidd's a great coach. They'll figure out a way to get one. I just think Boston from top to bottom are a much better team. I think, you gotta, when you think about the contributions and things of that nature, who can be that third, fourth guy for Dallas? And I think they role players have played particularly well. I mean, we had to look at the first two games. Kyrie hasn't been great, obviously. I mean, Luka has put some numbers up, but the 8 turnovers hurt last night. So your stars have to be stars, but you also need your role players to step up and somebody else to be that third or fourth guy. It'll be interesting to see if a P.J. Washington or somebody can step up.
You said something earlier that I 100% agree with, that the Celtics are the better team. There were a lot of people, though, from the conversation I heard, and I get it. We had a long layoff from the conference finals to the NBA finals, so people are looking to just say things. But it seemed like a lot of people were not only picking the Mavericks, but they thought the Mavericks were the better team. Is it just that Boston, since they've been close and haven't got the job done, people weren't believing they would get the job done? Because this team has been pretty much flawless the entire year with the record they've been putting out.
Well, I think people probably maybe didn't understand how good the Celtics were. I mean, you would think with their record and having the best record, people understand this team was really, really good. But also the experience factor. You got to think their two best players been in the finals and had disappointment. These two young stars, so they got to, they want to rebound. They want to make sure that they play well. You bring in a guy like Holiday, an NBA champion who's been there before. He's ready for this moment. You got Al Horford, a guy that's hungry, who's never been in this moment. He's played in a ton of meaningful games. He's got a chance to get him a title in his career. Porzingis, who's been another guy who's got a chip on his shoulder. The Dallas Mavericks traded him. You forgot about that. They traded him, and obviously you got to think about now he's in a situation. So the Celtics have a lot of great storylines. Mazzulla's been there before as a head coach. He learned from his mistakes. The Celtics are built for this moment. They made the right moves. They made the right decisions, and their two stars are ready for this moment.
Wrap it up with Antoine Walker, who joins us right now. Celtics up 2-0 in the NBA Finals. Tatum has not gone off in the point production department. I know he had double-digit assists last night, and he was 6 of 22 from the field. That's another thing where I keep on liking Boston in this series. Boston has played fine. They played good. They're up 2-0. I think, though, they could get to another gear. How about what you expect out of Tatum in Game 3?
He's been great. He's done what he had to do to help the team win. Obviously, you want efficient. You would love for him to be a little bit more efficient on the offensive end, but that's a stat line he had. That means that he's not concerned with just scoring the basketball. When he's able to rebound and assist and continue to play, that speaks volumes. That speaks maturity. That speaks a guy that's been in this moment before, and he's played in a ton of meaningful games, knowing that because of the team that Brad Stevens has built around him, he don't have to get 35 for them to win. He don't have to get 40. It's a difference. You look at a team with Luka and Kyrie, I don't know if they can win a game without Luka and Kyrie both maybe coming up with 70. You know what I mean? What this team, the Celtics team, was built different. And that's why Brad Stevens got Executive of the Year, because he put pieces around these two young stars so that when they have a bad game, you got other guys that will step in and make sure that they take care of business. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the depth of the Celtics play a big part in this series. And just wait. Jason Tatum is going to have one of them moments. He's going to have one of them games. It could be Game 3, maybe Game 4. You don't know when it's coming, but he's going to have one of those moments where he has a monster game. And that doesn't sit well for the Dallas Mavericks.
What did you make of Jason Kidd's comments after Game 1, saying that Jaylen Brown is the Celtics' best player? Was that a little bit of some mind games, or do you think that's just Jay Kidd's honest opinion?
I think if these guys were in their first and second year, but these two guys have been together for a long time now, and they've played in so many meaningful games. They're not focused on that. If they hadn't been to the finals before, if they haven't played the Golden State team, they've been to wars. They're young. They've had a lot of success early on. I don't mind Jason Kidd doing it. Anything you could do to try to help your team, maybe get a little edge of that nature, is cool. It's good for the tablet. Like you said, we had a bunch of days off. You can start thinking of a bunch of stuff to try to think about. But honestly, top to bottom, You're talking about the Mavs. Mavs had a good season. They didn't have a great season. They're sixth seed. They were sixth seed. They have 2 stars. You're playing against the best team in the NBA, and the Celtics are showing that. The Celtics are showing why they're the best team in the NBA. And matchups are everything. And I'll say this before we go. Everybody don't understand. It's a bad matchup for the Dallas Mavericks. The Celtics have multiple guys they can put on them, on both of your stars. They're not limited in their position. They play small. They can play small. They can play big, and they're deeper. It's happened sometimes. Playoffs are about matchups. Sometimes you just don't match up well with a team, and you need a lot of things to go your way. And unfortunately, the Celtics are healthy now. They have full strength. They can play a lot of different ways, a lot of different lineups, and just a bad matchup for the Dallas Mavericks.
Antoine Walker, let me just get your thoughts on Dan Hurley. Passed up the Lakers offer, 6 years, $70 million, is going to stay at UConn. When you saw that today after the long wait, as we were all waiting that news, what was your reaction?
I thought he made the right decision. When you look at the Lakers roster and where they're at right now, LeBron's going to be 40. AD, he's in his prime, but you don't have the third guy. D'Angelo Russell's going to free agency. You don't know if he may opt out. He may become a free agent. It's just the roster's not good enough for him to leave UConn when you think about it. It's just not. He's got an opportunity to make history, to win to three-peat, a legitimate chance. He's done a terrific job there. And guess what? In 2 years from now, I still believe an opportunity to go in the NBA will still be there for him. I don't think he has to jump at this. I think he'll still be there because he'll still be coaching and his teams will be playing at a high level. He'll be competing for championships. I don't think he has to jump at this. It's just tough because of the Lakers. And we understand the organization and the history that they have and being able to coach the Lakers team. And obviously to be able to coach LeBron. But you're not coaching LeBron at 25. I don't know how excited I'm going to be to coach LeBron at 40, even though he's playing at a very high level. But I just think it's different. And he's also, too, Rick Pitino came, and I'll say this last thing. Rick Pitino came in and took over in Boston. And we all know the success he had at the collegiate level.
Sure.
It's tough, man. This is a players' league. This is a players' league. And if you're not willing to understand that it's a players' league, then you kind of stay in the college ranks where you still have a little control. It's your program. You still kind of control things. In the NBA, you have to bow down to the players. It's the players' league. And I don't necessarily know if some of the great college coaches want to do that. They like to stay in a position where they run the program and they're able to develop. But when you get in the league, it's a players' league. And I think Hurley looked at that because he's looking at LeBron and AD. Everything, he's got to sit down with them every day and see if they want to practice, see how we want to do the schedule. It's a lot of things that he has to do in the NBA that he don't have to do in college. And I think he's making the right decision for himself.
Last thing I'll ask you, Antoine Walker. Calipari now at Arkansas. Your guy, Mark Pope, is now the head coach of your Wildcats. Just how about how all that played out since we haven't talked to you in a while?
I'm happy for both sides. Cal has been nothing but great to me in his tenure at Kentucky as far as allowing me to be back, taking care of me, making me still feel a part of the program. So I have a lot of respect for Cal. And I also got to add, my best friend is one of the assistant coaches too, Ron Coleman on the staff. So I have a lot of respect for Cal. I've got to know him personally, and through my best friend, I know how much a great guy he is. So I'm happy for Cal. But I'm also happy for Mark Pope. Obviously, been playing 2 years with Mark and knowing Mark real well. He'll do a good job. It'll be a little different. It won't be the same as Cal. He probably won't be able to get every big-time five-star guy. But he'll compete. He's going to work hard. He'll put a productive and competitive product on the floor, and eventually he'll have a chance to make a deep run in the tournament. He'll be that. And with the transfer portal, anything is happening because you can put together a team in a transfer portal. So I'm happy for both guys. Excited for Mark getting the opportunity to go back to Kentucky and the coach of his alma mater is something special. Looking forward to see him do that. But I'm also happy for Cal that he gets an opportunity to coach. But like I said, my best friend is on that staff, and so I root for those guys just as much.